Hey everyone, and welcome to this video where we're going to talk about creating your client journey flow. Creating a client journey flow is the most important thing you need to do for your business, especially if you're having a service or service-based business. The reason for that is because your product needs to be fully defined. How do you get your client from point A to point B? Let's say you're helping someone with media buying. What is the purpose of media buying? You're trying to get this client more deals or more products. Then you need to define from point A to point B how you're going to get that client there, because maybe a client does not have a website, or their branding is not really good, or they don't have the accounts for you to start running ads on. So you need to define that client journey that will take this client, who could be a complete beginner just starting, to actually getting them multiple deals at the same time. So the client journey does that. And for every offer and every client that we're bringing on, this is something that we define. Especially if I work with clients on their client success systems, then I'm going to identify their current client journey and then define what the future one should look like, the more scalable one that allows for more longevity and higher profitability as well. So on this video, I'm going to show you two types of templates that you can use for your client journey, the simple one and the more advanced one. So I'm going to start with the first one, the simple one, and it is what you see right here on my screen. It is a client journey that is on a Google Doc, and you have the different sections. You start with the traffic and the sales process. On the sales process, you also need to define the handover. It's not the sales process as in what do I do on each and every stage, how do I go about closing deals and all that. It's all about what does it look like to jump on a call with a client, and then from there, closing the deal, and then from there, onboarding the client. This is what it looks like, and that is what you need to define here. When it comes to defining the traffic, which is something I didn't cover yet, you want to define the different sources where you're finding clients from. This is going to allow you to understand how familiar the clients are with you, because if they are not very familiar but you're still closing deals, then maybe you want to add some steps of nurturing clients, like for example some client email sequence or any additional calls, or maybe some calls where you are explaining to the client what your process looks like if they're not very familiar, right? So you define the traffic to better understand the client profile. You define the sales process to better understand how you're closing the deals, what are the client expectations and what is the closing angle. And then from there, what does a handover look like? The onboarding process is more than just, hey, book a call, jump on a call with us. It is also the account setup. How do we set up the account for this client? How do we make sure that this client has a great first impression for us and our service and does not get cold feet and try to leave within the first 14 days? The next one is delivery. So there you're going to define what delivery looks like for your clients. How are you getting your clients results? How are you setting up the different accounts? How do you implement the different strategies? And what are these strategies, right? You want to break things down so then you understand how you're getting your client from point A to point B. Literally, that's all we're trying to do with the client journey. The next one is receivables. Now, the finances, super important for your business. If your client is not paying, of course, you cannot serve them because that's not a profitable business anymore. So you want to make sure you have a process to track the payment plans, the different retainers. If a client wants to replace a service or clients want to add new services, how do you do that? And if you're having receivables, how do you collect those? What happens if a client is sick or has a family emergency? How do you deal with these situations? If you have not defined them, that is super important to define. And then lastly, how do you offboard your clients and how do you cross-sell or upsell the clients? This is also important to define. Otherwise, if you never ask, you're not going to receive. If your clients don't know that you have other offers, how are you expecting them to buy those other offers, right? So this is the initial client journey flow. And when you're defining this, of course, it's the simplified version. I'm going to show you the more advanced version. So there's going to take some time. You can block 2 to 3 hours to get this done. You can do it yourself, and then you can potentially have a second call with your team where they can add more details here or with the heads of delivery for the different departments, and then making sure that this looks exactly like the blueprint the business should have to get every single client from point A to point B. Now, let's say you're delivering a lot of services to your clients. For example, you build their websites, you set up their ad accounts, you do the SEO for them, and some automations. How do you define all of this? Because this document will get really, really long. For this reason, I'm using Google Sheets, and I'm going to also show you an example. The way I'm using Google Sheets, as you can see here, is we have the column C for client communication, and then who is the assignee usually. Then we have the deliverable 1, deliverable 2, deliverable 3, 4, 5. You could have 15 deliverables, right? And then when I'm talking about deliverables, I'm talking about, let's say, the website, the different automations. Let's say you have a strategy for Instagram shoutouts or media buying or SEO, right? These are deliverables, and you're going to have a process to deliver each and every one of them on a week-to-week basis. So the reason why I'm breaking them here on a Google Sheet onto columns and the different assignees per deliverable is because I want to make it easy for you to visualize each and every department and you don't start forgetting things. And you are segmenting client delivery into phases, meaning you have a start date and an end date, and you have a focus. For example, the first week could be account setup for deliverable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what happens with client communication? Maybe you get the client to book a call or sign the agreement or go through the welcome message and go through their assigned tasks, right? You want to segment client journey into deliverables and into phases to make it easier for you to digest and also for your team to understand what happens in a more organized way than having like a long Google Doc. And then you have phase 2, phase 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It doesn't matter how many phases you have. At some point, you'll also reach the management phase where everything is done, everything is set. And now it's simply managing the client account, potentially adding new strategies or managing leads. And then it's just the same thing on repeat. So then phase 7 here would be what happens on repeat, right? Now, let's go a little bit on the client journey example right here. You can see here we have a situation where we're managing client communication. We are doing the marketing strategy for a client. We place an appointment setter. We build their sales systems, and we have some internal systems that we also need to build for ourselves. So this is what it looks like to do that. You have the different phases that include different tasks per deliverable. So then you have the client success manager who is doing it, or the growth consultant, or the client itself, or the admin, or the systems admin, systems integrator. So this is how you're going to break your client journey into different phases and per deliverable. This allows you to have a better understanding on what happens and making sure that you're on track and nothing is missed and nothing is falling through the cracks. So guys, the client journey, really, really important. I always insist on the client journey. We never start building systems unless we have the client journey in place. This is part of the audit that we perform on every business that we're working with. So if you're interested in this and you want me to come in here and design this for you, your client journey that is scalable, that allows your business to scale to multiple 6 and 7 figures, then you can schedule a call with the link in the description. This is something we've done for multiple offers, from coaching offers, from marketing offers, email marketing, media buying, Instagram shoutouts, so many businesses. And honestly, it takes a lot of effort, but it's worth it. And it is the number one thing you need to have to build a solid foundation for your business. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to put it on the comments below. And also remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching and feel free to book a call with me. Take care and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.